So guys, welcome back to Odd Socks. Now I don't know whether you're like me, and we've had nothing but rain for what feels like months. It really has taken a toll on how much I'm able to do outside at the moment. Now you'll probably remember in the last video, or maybe the one before, where we were saying how much of a mess and how much of a clear up that we need to do. Now we've been trying to come down in between the heavy rain and trying to get some of these actual jobs done. But it hasn't been easy, and every time we try to start a job, it starts to rain. So it really has tested us this last couple of months. Now, at this time of year, we're still in the planning stages of things, and we're not really sowing just yet. But within a few weeks, we will be starting to sow, mainly our peppers and things like that. That need a lot longer to germinate and to grow before they come outside. Now the one thing I am pleased with that we actually managed to finish was this arch. Now this arch will be for our curry, so we needed something nice and strong. Now I've brought arches over the years from the garden centre and they have hardly lasted a season. Now don't get me wrong, I've never spent big bucks on making one. Now this shouldn't be going anywhere for quite a while yet. Now I know it's not the prettiest of things, but how amazing will this look when it's all full of green, luscious plants growing up and trailing over the top. I can't actually wait to see that. We'll actually be putting some sweet peas as well, and maybe some other growing plants and fruits and things that we can grow alongside the curry, maybe. Obviously with the curry, it won't be actually planted out until probably May. By the time we get our last frost, which could be anything up to mid-May for us here. But to be honest, with the way the seasons are, you just never know what's going to happen with our weather this year. So I will be experimenting this year with growing some earlier sweet peas and some other plants up here, so they can get a foothold before the curry takes over. Now we have started some of the other jobs that we were actually intending on doing, but we just keep getting rained out. And it's made it incredibly hard to be using power tools out here when it just keeps on raining. So one of the jobs that we were hoping to get finished by now was the new chicken coop and run. Now we haven't got chickens yet, and we will get them in the near future, and again we still haven't decided whether we're going for the eggs and the hatching, or whether we're going to get day olds or even just pullets. I haven't quite decided on what I'm going to do. So that chicken coop is much further behind than what we actually wanted to, and I'm hopefully going to do a separate video on the chicken coop. But I'll probably just show you after we've built it or we got to a certain stage, because the coop itself, we're actually making it out of recycled materials, so we're not quite sure what we're going to get until we've actually finished building it. And as we're building it, we're changing plans as we're going along, so we shall see how that goes, but that is a future build. Now one of the reasons I have chickens, or would want to have chickens again, is because they are great for the compost. Well, their poop is great for the compost. Their bedding is recyclable again into the compost too, and of course we get delicious eggs. One of the other projects that we're trying to get going is clearing up the rest of the plot. Now once we got this one out the way, it cleared up a little bit of the poles that was left. But one of the other projects that we've got going on at the moment, or we will be, is the new polytunnel. And this is the area that we're going to put the new polytunnel. Now, we've changed it about 5 or 6 times now, and we can never make up our mind. But I think this area that we've got covered in plastic will be perfect for our new polytunnel. Now, don't worry, the plastic's not going to stay there. We just want to reduce some of the weeds that were down there before we start building, and it might be another month or 2 before we get round to doing this particular project, since my husband's now back at work, and it's definitely a 2-man job to build the polytunnel. Now we're going to build them exactly the same as what we did before, using trampoline parts and pallets. It's really served us well and has not rocked or moved in all that stormy weather that we actually have had this year, because it seems to be one storm after another hitting us in the UK for the last month. So that's a project I'm really looking forward to. Now this polytunnel won't be having any tomatoes in it. That will stick to the original polytunnel. It will be a little bit longer because that's what we're allowed on our allotment, but we're going to focus mainly on peppers, Cape gooseberry and the more unusual things that you can grow here in the UK under a polytunnel. So I'm really looking forward to being able to do this. I've always wanted my own polytunnel where I've got nobody else telling me what I can and can't grow in there. So having my own where I can experiment and grow lots of new things to try, I'm really looking forward to. Now the beds in this one are going to be different to what we had in the original polytunnel too. That's going to be no dig beds again, but instead of using bits of wood to raise it up as in raised beds, we're going to be literally onto the floor itself. And I'll be putting a good layer of manure and compost into these beds to give it as much fertility as we possibly can to grow the best produce that we can this year. Saying the best produce we can grow each year, you never know what kind of growing year that you're actually going to get. It's one of those things in the UK, our seasons are never really the same. You can't go back and say, well, this month of the year was this particular temperature and it was dry for this particular amount of time, because it is so variable. So with any type of growing, wherever you are in the UK, it's almost like an experiment each year to see what actually does grow and what doesn't, what pests decimate your crops and what things get left behind. There's some things that we grow each year that we don't get any pest damage whatsoever, and then we'll get the occasional years where it's absolutely decimated by some form of pest or bug. Now we don't use chemicals here. I'm not going to say we're organic because I don't want to use that word, because people get very picky and finicky about the word organic. We don't use pest control in the manner of chemicals or anything like that. We did try natural slug pellets last year, but to be honest, they were very lacking, and I think I'll go back to my beer traps. But we're really hoping to be able to extend everything what we can this year. But it's baby steps. You can't really do a massive plot the size of these two allotments all in one year. That's why we're doing it in stages. So that's it for this particular video. I will be trying to do a few more videos while it's actually dry and actually film and try and get them out over the next week or so. So hopefully this year I'm trying to actually put out a little bit more content and trying to do it multiple times a week. And I think we're going to have a lot going on here. So maybe it would be good to kind of keep you guys updated if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. But for now, thank you again. This is just kind of a little catch-up video. It might not look like we've done much here at the moment, but really the weather really has been against us, and we have got rid of a lot of the stuff that we don't need at the moment. But hopefully this week it's going to be a little bit drier. I can just crack on and get what we need to get done. So we'll see you in the next video, and I really hope you had a fantastic Christmas, guys, and I'm wishing you all the most successful growing season for this coming year.